everyone. Thank you for coming. Before you start, this is obviously ahead of the trip to Tottenham Hotspur this weekend. We'll have an embargoed section. We'll make that clear when it is, but it is for 10:30 on Friday evening. Peter Stevenson, Sky Sports News. Off you go.
Vinny, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can I just ask you first of all, Forest lost their appeal this week. How much of an extra glimmer has that given you? Because to all intents and purposes, if they'd have been given points back, the season would have been over already for you.
Yeah, and as weird as it may sound, I didn't pay any attention to it. I'm of course, like everyone at Burnley Football Club, desperate for us to try and stay in the league, to try and pull off some sort of exceptional performance in the next game and the game after that. But I've kind of taught myself how to handle this situation is by genuinely not trying to pay too much attention to it. It's not something I could have affected anyway, so decision's been made. Play on now.
How difficult a job have you had this week lifting people? Because it seemed very flat last week, inevitably, after the result against Newcastle.
Yeah, no, it's not been difficult at all. I think, obviously, after the game, things can go through your mind, of course, at that moment in time, and then you draw back on experience in football, and you start thinking, okay, what are the scenarios? And that's why I mentioned it. I said if it happened that Forest wasn't our last game of the season, I think it'd probably be totally unlikely. But just the fact that it is the last game of the season, then you start looking at, well, what's happening this weekend, and Forest have lost games before this season. It happens. They're a good team, but they have lost games like every team in the Premier League. Luton have done exceptional, but they have lost games as well this season. So, there's no guarantees for the weekend of who's going to win and who's going to lose. And then it brings me back to our game. We go away at Spurs. It's a tough opponent. They're obviously, they've got the players, and there's a reason why they are where they are in the league. But again, it's football, and then before you know it, you're filled with confidence again. You're filled with something that gets you through the door, and like I said, I live as well with this idea that we're a team that's alive in that sense. We're a club that's alive, so it doesn't stop and start with the next game. It doesn't stop and start with the next two games. And it's an exciting place to be at.
How have you managed the situation? Have you tried to keep it exactly the same as all the other weeks of the season, or because of the unique situation that you find yourself in now, do you, for want of a better expression, do you crank it up a little bit?
No, I think you want to keep a certain structure for sure. You want to keep a certain either discipline or idea towards the game, because that's also the reason why players have improved this season. But then in terms of the energy for the week, I think you have to feel it. It just depends on the week it is. It depends on, sometimes it can even depend on the weather. I mean, it won't surprise you that if you come and turn up for training every day and the sun is shining, which we've had this week, naturally you have a lift anyway. So we've had that. It's not been one of them that I've had to go and dig really deep to go and find it for them. It's been there, and you tune a little bit to what the team needs.
And of course, I suppose part one is win your game. Part two would then be wait and see what happens in the Forest game, which is a later kickoff. Is that just something that you'll hopefully plan to do?
There's only part one I'm concerned about. It's the only thing. Part two is, it's not in our control. I know the scenarios. I know what's possible. Forest can win. They can draw. They can lose. But we have to focus on our game.
And what will be the crux of the final thing that you say to your players before they go out at 3 o'clock on Saturday?
We've got to believe. I mean, it doesn't matter which game we've played. Like we played Newcastle, we did have 17 shots on, 17 attempts. We could have had another 10 if the final ball, if we're a little bit better in our decision making. there's no surprise as well, of course. You know, it's the reason why we are where we are, because, you know, and it's the reason why you will pay top money for certain players, because they more often than not make the right decision, and more often than not will hit the target. But on any given day, players can do something special, and that's the mindset for Saturday. Can it be that day where you can do something special? We've hit it from 30 yards top corner as well this season. Not enough, but it could be that day, and that's how we have to believe in the next game.
And finally, from me, talking about doing something special, Ian Maatsen, with you last year in the Championship,
Yeah.
now in the Champions League final. I mean, what sort of an achievement is that for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an achievement for him, for his parents as well, the people who've supported him to get to this level. And it just goes to show, I mean, he's a kid that came in with such a terrific attitude. You know, he was in the Championship, he was a talented player, but he was never too big for us in his mentality, and willing to learn, talented at the start. I'm not surprised that he's reaching the levels he's reaching. And I'll tell you more. I think we have players in this team who will go on and do the same.
Thanks for your time.
Thank
Good
you.
luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Vinny, the fact that Spurs have lost, I think it's 4 on the trot now, is this a good time, do you think, for you to be facing
We'll
them?
find out on Saturday. It's one of them like this. It's you know how it is. You know, every team, when you've had a defeat, you try to react. You try and kind of rebel against the situation. So, but you find out on the day. I think in our case, we've always been able to, you know, put up something against teams like that, you know, and try and make it a game in which we can hurt them as well. But to go and predict what the flow will be of that game is very difficult at this moment in time.
And obviously in the last couple of away games against some of the so-called bigger clubs, you look at Chelsea, you look at Manchester United, you've had that ability to go there, to do things, to get points.
Yeah.
Is it a case of trying to sort of repeat that, try and harness that mentality again?
I think we need even that little bit above that, right? Because we need to win, and but as well, I think it's shackles off. You know, I've mentioned it many times, but I'll repeat it again. No fear mentality, no fear attitude, and we have to go. We have to go all out. I hope we can do something special, not just for the players, but also for our fans. It's been a journey for them as well this season, and especially on the back of last season. But they've been there all the way with us, so they're the ones we really want to reward. Yeah.
Just take out your playing experience for a minute.
You got your skeptical face, and what you're gonna ask?
I've always had this face.
It's when you get depending on how many lines you got in your forehead. I know the type of question that's
the
coming.
passage of time, Vincent. I'm just old these days. Your playing career, obviously illustrious as it was, and all those things that you learned from it.
Yes, what's the rest?
I imagine for you to have this tunnel vision and have the blinkers on and focus on the job in hand and not think about those things on the periphery is standard procedure. From a man management point of view, from being the manager, how do you transmit that to footballers who might not have had that water under the bridge that you've had? How do you stop them, you know, whether it's a points deduction appeal, whether it's the Forest result at night, whatever it might be, those external things? How do you stop that stuff getting through?
I think number one, you lead by example, because you're not just influencing the players, you're also influencing your staff, and they're in turn also important in terms of what they have as an impact on the players. And then I think the second thing is it doesn't change too much from when I was a player myself, as in like a captain in the team, and how you would approach it towards your teammates with maybe a little bit less experience who kind of need that confirmation, because everybody will know, they will have heard it before, but you kind of sort of need that confirmation sometime of, you know, this is the way to handle this situation. But the biggest thing as well is you're not necessarily born like that. You have to go through these situations as well to understand it's almost a process of elimination. You do it the other way and then it goes wrong, and then you say, well, let me do it this way. So I have no doubt that we're able to sort of put things in the right place and approach it in the right way. But you find these things out really mostly on the day.
Does it follow that players also therefore react to pressure situations differently? Have you learned this season X player reacts one way, Y player reacts another way?
Yeah, we do. And we do learn all the time. And the more of these key situations you're going through with them, the more you're actually able to see how they're actually coping with it. But as well, the second time, they usually also cope with it differently than the first time, because they learn themselves as well. It's not just you teaching them, they teach themselves as well. But then in the end, I think for us, I wouldn't describe this game as a high pressure game for us. Why would it be? You know, like I said, I don't think we have anything to lose. You know, if you go into this weekend and you're protecting a 2 points lead, I can see how this is a different mindset. And perhaps I'd be not naive, but perhaps I'd be trying to convince myself more than anything if I was saying that there is no pressure at that moment in time. But in this case, I genuinely believe that for us, it's all opportunity. And if that energy can live from now and hopefully into the last game, but I don't want to even think about Forest game right now. I think that this is our last game, and I think that if we give ourselves a final against Forest, then that's a final. But this is our last game of the regular season. That's how we have to look at it, and anything can happen on the final day of the season, as you know.
But if you can get relegated at full time, does that bring pressure? Or is that because the expectation is perhaps externally that you won't do it, does that take the pressure off?
Let's not talk about relegation right now. Let's talk about the opportunity of the game. We'll have plenty of time to talk about what the season has been for us, good or bad. But right now, I don't think we have to play out any scenarios. The only thing I know is we'll keep going. That I guarantee you. No matter what, you just keep going, and rewards don't get distributed in life because you've done something exceptional in that one given season. Is because you've prepared yourself for a long time to have that one moment. So and you have to go through these moments to be able to earn the rewards.
What would you say to your supporters, those that are going, obviously, that are going to be inside the stadium, but also the people all around here about this situation and this game?
Let's just go all out. let's have a good go and let's do ourselves proud. That's the goal we have, you know. And I can't ask for them to do it for us, but I would love to be able to come out of this place with a special experience.
Your opposite number, Ange Postecoglou, is pretty open in the way he wants to play and an emphasis on attack. That plus this situation, is that likely to lend itself to an open and attacking game with two teams who want to win?
I've said to you before in earlier press conference, I think this year it's a strikers league. So you can rattle through 80% of the teams and the names of the teams that are playing in the Premier League this year. It's been extremely attractive, of course, for the fans because there's loads of goals. But I think that a lot of coaches at this moment in time are very much on the front foot, or very much, and I think the strikers as well are having, you know, some really good big spaces to attack at this moment in time, and therefore I think that we know what this is. It was like this against Newcastle. It was like this against United. It was like this against Chelsea or Bournemouth. Or we just hope that we get the result.
Is that an area that's been a struggle for you? 5 Premier League goals, I think, is your leading goal scorer. The sort of element of the strikers setting the tone, the forward players scoring the goals.
Look, I mean, historically, the teams in the bottom 3 don't have, you know, 2 or 3 guys on 15 goals a season. You know, it is. We have to work hard for our goals. I think we've been pretty constant in raising the amount of chances we've had this season. That means we started off at 1 point and we finished at a higher point. But that last detail of a detail is not a detail. The most important part of actually finishing your chances off. It's also one-on-one related either to the progress of the players that you have in your squad, or the amount of money you're able to invest on the position. And we're not, you know, we're realistic, and we know that we have to have players that improve during the seasons, and we're not going to be able to bring the players in that are already, you know, ready to make 20 goals in the first Premier League season. So it's I'd like the numbers to improve, but I'm willing to go the journey, to take the journey with them to get there.
And you've explained the way you approach the circumstances and the situation.
Mm.
Can you enjoy it?
Yeah, you really can. I'm telling you now, you enjoy it more when you've won at the end of the week. But I didn't sign up, like I said, as a manager with only in my head I can only have success, and if I don't have success, then this job is rubbish. I signed up for the full package, and I knew that this was a part of it, and you learn obviously as you're going through it, but I've learned from this team, from this experience here now with this club, that even in the most difficult of times, I still love the job. I love working with these players. I love, you know, trying to help the club to reach what its objectives are. That's something that I really love. It doesn't matter that we have lost one game or 15 games. That's stayed. But I want to win, of course. I want to win.
How sceptical's my face now we've finished?
Was that?
How sceptical's my face?
You look
now
happy,
we've finished?
pleased, satisfied with the answers. So that's good.
Thank you very much.
You look like you've had a good meal.
Anyway, Matt from the Express.
I won't ask about my face. Sander Berg won the club's Player of the Season award. How pleased have you been with him following his move from Sheffield United?
It's good because I think his improvement is I think puts a highlight on everybody else's improvement as well. You see the first few games, how he came through the building, the question marks that you could have had at that time that were justified. And yeah, I think he's been nearly in every game at the same level of as the midfielders, if not better than the midfielders we've faced in for a long time now. He belongs at this level, and yeah, it's important for us in every game, and hopefully he can just top those performances with a goal at the weekend. That'd be great.
Because of how well he's played, not concerned, but do you expect interest in him in the summer?
I haven't thought about it, to be honest. I want him to get better and improve again so that he can help Burnley. That's my goal. That's my role as a coach. But everything else afterwards, you know, good players always attract interest, so that wouldn't surprise me. But my only goal is to have him good for Burnley.
How's Maxim Estev after he came off last week?
It was fine. It just unfortunately was he picked up like a bit of an illness the day before, but brave again that he wanted to play, and he just, I think he went lights out. He wasn't able to continue.
Is it, illness, is that gone now?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. And Luka Kolyos, is he in contention yet?
No, still not.
Finally, can I ask about Michael Obafemi? He was left at a Millwall team last week, and Neil Harris said it was a discipline issue. Have you had to speak to him or discuss that with them?
No, I mean, I think right now we've been focused mainly on getting the season over the line. But of course, I think as a club in general, I don't think we're too pleased with the fact that there needed to be a big statement about it, because we always have a duty of care for all the players that we have. And but okay, I don't want to get involved in other clubs' affairs. I think the main thing for us is that we're able to recover players that have improved and that feel like they can help us next season.
Let's move into the